All right. So we're trying this for the third time. YouTube has cut my stream off for the last two times tonight. So we're going to see if this works. If this doesn't work, then luckily I have my own stream servers. So we're going to just switch over to that. Uh, so I didn't even realize that my stream got cut off until about 10 minutes in. Luckily, on the cell phone, it's going to show me. Uh, so I see we got one person. I'm still going to take calls, by the way. I'm going to do it from my laptop or my Mac here, and I'm just going to take out the headphones and just going to do a ghetto style, I guess, until we get this figured out. I'm really interested on why that happened because the first time they cut me off, they said it was because it was low video output. So I was like, okay. So I tried another stream where I showed my face, and it still said that it wasn't getting video or audio. And and I was getting told that when people were going to my live stream, um, it was saying the stream is not available. So luckily, I see that there are a few people in here now and got some likes. So thank you for that. So I guess I'm just gonna start over from the beginning. Today's tech talk is titled "When Technology is Used Against Us," and it's ironic that my stream got cut off twice when I want to talk about this subject. For those of you who do not know, today around lunchtime, Trump officials basically came out and said that they are going to continue the warrantless um, surveillance data collection known as Section 702, whether or not Congress approves of it uh, or not. So whether they approve to continue it or not, the White House is still going to command the intelligence agencies to go ahead and continue the warrantless data collection. So for those of you who don't know the history behind this, this is part of the FISA Amendments Act of 2008. And this basically was the amendment that allowed the CIA, NSA, all those three-letter intelligence companies or surveillance entities to collect telecommunications data on foreign targets who were deemed threats to national security. So whether it be terrorist or international banking fraud or what have you. Where the issue came into play was that they were also collecting domestic American data, either because the person was, they said a trigger word, or they were talking to someone who was talking to someone who was talking to someone who was talking to the main target. I can't remember how many levels of relationships they were going down to collect the data they were collecting. But long story short, they were doing warrantless collection on, or are doing warrantless collection on U.S. citizens, which essentially is a violation of our Fourth Amendment, no warrantless search and seizure. So let me pull up the article real quick. So this is from gizmodo.com, and this came out today, like an hour or so after the announcement was made by the White House. Let me just start here. Debate over potential reforms to the program enacted under the FISA Amendment Act of 2008 continue in Congress, but have largely been overshadowed by Republican efforts to overhaul the tax code. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence has acknowledged that the government believes the program could remain active for several months past its supposed expiration date, even if Congress fails to extend it. Section 702, which authorizes the government to collect intelligence on foreign targets located outside of the United States, is set to expire by the end of the year. Critics of Section 702 point out that while the law prohibits the targeting of U.S. citizens, the program regularly results in the collection of innocent Americans' communications. As it is currently written, Congress must reauthorize the program on a yearly basis. But as it was last certified on April 26, the executive branch attorney argues that the program may remain operational without reauthorization until April of 2018, as that falls within a 12-month window. This extension could ostensibly give the intelligence committees more time to discuss potential changes to the program, including additional privacy protections for Americans whose communications are routinely swept up by U.S. intelligence agencies. The program was reauthorized this April after the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court issued 2 short-term extensions, while the National Security Agency wrestled with how to continue collecting intelligence without skirting the Fourth Amendment. Leaks by former intelligence contractor Edward Snowden revealed that the NSA had been collecting not just emails to and from foreign targets, but communications between other people mentioning them. The NSA referred to these systemic violations as inadvertent compliance incidents. That the program allows government officials to read the content of Americans' private communications without a warrant has long been a point of contention among privacy advocates. What's more, Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats refused, when questioned by Senator Ron Wyden this year, to confirm whether or not the government believes the program authorizes intelligence agencies to collect communications it knows to be entirely domestic. In July, top intelligence and law enforcement officials, including Coats, were asked during a hearing before the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence whether they believe Section 702's blanket authorization allowed the government to compel U.S. tech companies to build so-called backdoors into encrypted consumer products such as iPhones. The officials responded by saying the program authorized the government to direct tech companies to provide the government with information and assistance necessary to accomplish the acquisition. Should a tech company refuse to comply with the request, the government said it may seek an order from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, or FISA, compelling the company to assist. The DNI said as of yet the government has not sought such an order, but it remains unclear whether or not the government has ever requested access to an encryption backdoor, citing Section 702, or whether any companies have automatically complied with such a request if it were made. Earlier this year, Senator Wyden introduced an amendment that would have prohibited, under Section 702, the acquisition of communications known to be entirely domestic. Only Senators Martin Heinrich and Kamala Harris supported the amendment. About a dozen fellow SSCI members voted against it. National Security reporter Marcy Wheeler wrote on November 15th that the Wyden Amendment would have effectively prevented intelligence agencies from collecting to obtain foreigners' data, traffic routed through the Tor network. How you doing, Ms. Reed? Which tens of thousands of Americans use. Tor is a software used to anonymize users and defeat surveillance by encapsulating traffic in layers of encryption and routing it through a series of nodes called onion routers. The U.S. government has repeatedly refused to disclose an estimate of how many Americans have had their communications swept up under Section 702 surveillance, and earlier this year, it announced it has no plans to issue one. When I asked the Director of National Intelligence under whether Section 702 could be used to collect communications the government knows are entirely domestic, he first testified no. Then he said he was answering a different question than the one I asked, and then said the whole thing was classified, Senator Wyden wrote in a recent op-ed for Just Security. When the government when the government throws a blanket of secrecy over such a fundamental question, it is unclear. It is clear, rather, that the public and Congress are operating in the dark. Okay. Oh no. Uh, Sorry about that. Get that together. I need to get a stand for my phone. Oh, they did it again. Anyway, I'm just gonna hold it. All right. So basically, like I said, I just read the majority of an article from Gizmodo about Trump's attorney coming out and saying that basically they're going to continue the FISA Surveillance Act, whether or not Congress approves it or not. So, if you guys remember back a few years ago when Edward Snowden had first came out with the revelations that the NSA was collecting all of our emails and phone calls and whatnot, um, one, there wasn't enough public outcry, and I largely blame that on the fact that most people, when they hear words like encryption and data analysis and data mining, they just kind of turn off because we as a society don't really teach computer science as well as we should. So when they hear stuff like that, they can't picture anything tangible. And second of all, um, Congress did not do enough when it found out what was going on to stop it. There is a term that conspiracy theorists, I'll say, like to throw out called the deep state. And the concept of the deep state is basically the intelligence committees are basically running the show behind the government because they don't answer to the people. They're appointed positions, and they just kind of run autonomously. So you have the NSA, you have the CIA, you have the FBI, and a whole host of other people who have this capability to intercept all forms of communication. It's not just phone and text. Um, I couldn't find I2P Anonymous Network is one of those. Is one of those what? Like Tor? Um anywho, they can collect. Okay, I haven't heard of I2P, or maybe I have. Kind of seems familiar. I have to check it out. But basically, you have these agencies that have the power to collect all of this telecommunications data, and I couldn't find the name of the program. There was actually a program started in the 70s that was the precursor to all of this. All communications data essentially can be intercepted by the government. Uh, if it's electronic, it can be intercepted. Now, like I said earlier, the Fourth Amendment protects U.S. citizens from unwarranted search and seizure. Um, Now, I acknowledge that the FISA Act has stopped uh, terrorist attacks overseas. That is a fact, and I don't necessarily have a problem with the FISA Act. My problem is with the secrecy behind it. Now, I understand if you can't you can't tell people, hey, your calls might be intercepted, um, it- because somebody that you talked to was directly linked to somebody that we're looking at who could potentially be a threat to national security. I can respect that. Um, if they were just to come out and say, yes, this happens, it is a fact, there's nothing we can do about it, um, and this is why it has to happen, and they just explain it, then I believe the majority of people will be okay with that trade-off. But the problem is that they aren't transparent about it because essentially it's BS. Mad Genius. Also, anonymous collections are achieved by encrypting your traffic by using end-to-end encryption via censorship. Yeah. I'm actually going to talk about end-to-end encryption in a second. So hold that thought. But it's BS because um we have we have enough technology and computing power where if they know if they need to pinpoint somebody, they can pinpoint that person. What they're doing is they're doing data mining. Now, out in Utah in the desert, they built a giant, they being the federal government, built a giant data storehouse and data mining farm to analyze the data collected under the FISA Amendments Act of 2008. Because, I mean, you got to imagine, this is a huge pipeline of data that's coming in continuously. I can't remember how many etabytes. I think it's measured in etabytes. How much storage they're using to store this collected data. So it's too much data for any human to possibly sift through. So obviously they're using artificial intelligence algorithms to extract key data, which they use in their investigations for counter intelligence and counterterrorism and whatnot. But what about all the extra data? And the vast majority of the data is would be considered junk data as a refer as it refers to the investigations that they're doing. But they're not deleting that data, which leads me as a computer scientist to believe that they are mining that data and using that data to do what's called predictive analysis. Now, let me take a break and talk about when I was approached by Uber. So, Uber came to me to work on a project called Crystal Ball. And Crystal Ball is a predictive analytics engine. So, this program, let's say they put a street corner in China. This predictive analytics program in real time will give a very accurate estimate of how much money per hour is going to come through that block, what times of the day the people are going to schedule a ride for Uber, where, like, geographic location where they're going to get picked up. Like, if it's one block, most it might be 30% they're probably going to get picked up at this coffee shop. 25% might get picked up at uh I don't know, the arcade or what have you. But it's predictive analytics and it is spot on and it's real time. So uh, imagine the throughput that Uber has, right? And this is just one company that's doing this, one company. So imagine what a government can do when they basically have unlimited resources. I mean, they have limited resources, but they definitely have more resources than an individual company has. So, and this just may be the conspiracy theorist in me, but I firmly believe that they are mining these calls, and I can guarantee you that of all the people, of all the Americans who have cell phones, emails, Facebook accounts, what have you, there's at least one thing of yours that's in that data house in Utah. And they're using that to figure out all sorts of information. They're even figure out information that they don't know that they want to know. That's what machine learning is. You program the machine to start teaching itself and extrapolating data based off its own measurements that it constructs. You end up with data sets. You're like, oh, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know I could pull that data out of this data set. But the machine will figure it out. What are they going to do with that? Um, I mean, it's literally limitless possibilities. And this is why I want to talk about when data is used against you. Um, how many of you have seen the movie Minority Report? And if you have, just say so in the chat real quick, just so I get a quick idea of how like in deep I need to go into this explanation. But in the movie Minority Report, it's set in the future where there is no murder. Well, there's been zero murders and crime is at an all time low. I have at least 22 times. I know it's like one of my favorite movies. Um, so there's been no murders, and the reason why there's been no murders is because there's these three entities called the precogs that basically see the future, and when they see a crime, um, that it's given to this police unit called the pre-crime unit. So um, in the beginning, a lot happens in that movie. A lot more happens in that movie than meets the eyes. I'm going to talk about that because Minority Report is what's happening right now in America. We're on the precipice of living in Minority Report. So in the very beginning, this man discovers that his wife is cheating on him. Okay, and then he snaps. Um, and oh, the Minority Report TV show is good. I've always wondered. I'm about to check it out. So he snaps and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill his wife, my wife, and her lover." And then the police bust in. Is like, "You're arrested for the pre-murder of so and so and so and so." And he's like, "I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna do it." So that's how they get people. They were like, we saw, or based on our data, we know with an what we say is 100% certainty that you're going to commit a crime. So we're going to put you away before that crime's committed. And they put him in like this stasis, um, like in this little sleep cell thing or whatnot. So at the end of the movie, and if you haven't seen it, sorry, spoiler alert. It turns out that one of the triplets or siblings, the female, she um, is the one that prints out what are called minority reports. And the minority report, not every time someone who thought about committing a crime is actually going to commit that crime. So, in the chance that if there's a chance that they're not going to commit that crime, then the sister puts out what's called a minority report. So you're going to have the two brothers that show the crime, and then they have the sister who shows the minority report. And what was happening was that minority report was getting swept under the rug. Uh, because having minority report goes against the integrity of the precog initiative, and it goes against the integrity of the pre-crime unit, because if you have one person who possibly couldn't have done it, then how many other people could have possibly not have gone through with that crime? Saw one episode, but it did not hold my attention as they went a little love story, but I'm sure it had zero chemistry. Yeah, it was a mediocre show, but I think I like the sci-fi feel of the show. Okay, yeah, I mean, usually the TV adaptations they're made for TV crap in there that usually does the movies an injustice. But but we're basically on the precipice of that movie, in the fact of data collection. Do you not think that they're going to start using predictive analytics to say that you're going to commit a crime? Let me give you an example. Um, let's say you and some dude are beefing, y'all are texting back and forth, and y'all beefing, and you're like, woody woo, meet me at the park. I'm gonna give you these hands. You're gonna catch this fade. Um, in a not so distant future, let's say those communications, let's say we get to the point where communications are intercepted and transcribed and analyzed in real time. Because right now we're not there yet. The data throughput is so much. We're it takes a lot of time to read the data in a one day. But let's say in the not too distant future, get to the point where they can collect the data, intercept the data, and analyze it in real time. So they see, oh, John and Terry are about to go fight at 5 o'clock at the park. Notify squad units to pick them up for disorderly conduct and assault, pre assault and pre disorderly conduct. And then, you know, they go to court and be like, well, we intercepted the text messages right here. They obviously had both said that they were going to do it. Oh, you guys talking about Limitless. Limitless is also a good show. I'm actually going to do a talk on technology and pharmaceuticals and on brain enhancement drugs and how technology is used in the whole pharmaceutical industry. But anyway, we're not that far from it. We're not that far from them having the capability to do that. Another thing that was in the movie Minority Report, something interesting. So everyone had to register their retinas because I don't know if you know, but retinal recognition is far more secure than thumbprint recognition. Thumbprint recognition can be tricked using a gummy bear, but your iris, your eyeball, it's very unique. So, retinal scanners have like 100% success rate because like your retinas are that unique. So in the movie, everyone had to register the retinas, and I'm pretty sure they had to do it at birth, right? So in the movie, Tom Cruise, he has to get eye transplants. Um, Yeah, whenever I go over to Jersey City, I can definitely see most of the cops starting to behave like they know who is about to commit murder. I mean, yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, down to how they train people, how they do training is based off extrapolated data. Everything goes back to data. Everything. So keep that in mind. In order to have anything that is measurable and meaningful, you have to have data. And in this day and age, we live in the big data era where you can get buttloads of data for really cheap and really fast. But so Tom Cruise, he gets his irises transplanted with this Japanese guy, and there's a part where he like goes to the Gap, and the advertisement thing scans his iris, and it's like, "Welcome back, Mr. Nakamoto," uh and was offering sales and stuff, right? We're right now we're at the part where if you go on Facebook or YouTube or Google, you see targeted ads based off your browsing history. This also falls under this whole FISA Act. The whole concept of having personalized targeted advertising was a double-edged sword. It's great for the advertisers, and um it's also great. It also can potentially be great for the consumer because you're getting shown stuff that you're most likely to buy, and this back and forth. Social media buys your data that you provide them for advertising, which you should also be compensated for. You should, but this actually ties in with what I'm saying, because when you use social media, you're not the consumer, you're the product. The consumer is the advertisers, because they're the ones who buy the ad space that powers the social media platform that keeps it free. If it weren't for them, you would have to pay $10 a year or whatnot to use Facebook, because otherwise they wouldn't have the money to keep their servers up. So like I said, so this data is being collected, and we're at the point where we have targeted ads. All this data, when you have like Google Analytics or use like LinkedIn Pixel. LinkedIn has this thing called Pixel. You can put a tag on your website, a pixel on your website, okay? And when people visit that website, you, as the website owner, get detailed information based off their LinkedIn profile. So you can see their name, you can see where they work, who they work for, how much money they've made, all sorts of demographics based off just putting that tracking tag. Same thing with Twitter, same thing with Facebook, and same thing with Google. So even if you don't use Facebook, even if you don't use Gmail or Twitter or any of these other platforms, your data is still being tracked, because the vast majority of websites on the internet have some sort of tracking software on there. Usually is Google Analytics. So even though you may not have a Google account, it still knows who you are based off your data, because every website that you go to that has Google Analytics on it is like, it figures out, oh, this is the same person who went to website A that went to website B. Now we know we have some basis to like track this person. And then all it's going to take is for you to go to one site where they're tracking your name, and you put your name in a form field. Now they know your name. It's literally, at this point, it's impossible. If you want to use the web in any meaningful way, you can use VPNs and stuff, but there's no way to not have some sort of digital footprint if you're going to use the internet in its full capacity, and it's been designed that way. So, what's going to happen when Congress says we're not going to authorize the FISA Act, and you need to shut it down? Trump's pretty much already told you that they're not going to. I mean, they said they're talking about this April to April nonsense, but I mean, let's be honest. If they tell them no, we're not going to do it, they don't even have to tell them no, because they don't report to them. They can just direct them to keep doing it, and then if they get testified by Congress, they can just claim it's classified. Pandora's box has been opened, and there's no way to close it. So what's going to happen when ISIS is no longer a threat, or whatever terrorist group that they want to claim? What's going to happen when we live in a world where we're not really have to worry about extreme terrorism, and we still have this system in place? You think they're just going to tear it down and not use it again? That's like saying they got the nuke and they used it on Hiroshima, and then they were like, okay, we're not building any more nukes. We have 6,500 nukes. When you give a government power, they're going to use that power, and once they get used to that power, they're going to do whatever they can to keep that power. So now you're seeing an attack on encryption, and with that, like cryptocurrency. They'll always find some new boogeyman to fight. That's true. They will always find some boogeyman to fight. But my point is, even if there wasn't a boogeyman to fight, they're not going to shut it down. They'll use it just exclusively for domestic. I mean, they'll probably still use it for international surveillance, just because to keep on with their colonialist mindset and practices and mentalities. But the biggest threat to government, and in government's eyes, and I think it's true, isn't outside influence. It's domestic. It's not foreign. It's domestic. That's why you have dictatorships that do everything in their power to quell uprisings. That's what's the basis for coups. The only way I can see them not using it is if someone turns it around on them. I mean, okay. Hi Jojo, how you doing? Look at it like this. Uh, so do you remember? I think it was last year. It might have been 2015. Um, we were spying on Britain and France, I think. And they came they came and were like, how, why are you spying on us? We're your allies. Um, they'll and then there was I can't remember what country. There was some country that was like trying to do the same for us, the same on us. I mean, it's basically like what we do, what Russia did to us, right? Russia influenced the election, um, and then, but we influence elections all the time in various countries, all the time. But the one time a country did it to us, which isn't the first time. I mean, they've been actually trying to do this since the 50s. But, um, when the country does it to us, we're like, oh, how dare you? So, even if we did turn it around on them, which there are several initiatives actually to do that. That's part of what the Open Data Society is about, Open Data Alliance and the Open Government Initiative, uh, is to have all this information out. Jojo, I don't know what you're saying, but either say something meaningful or I'm just going to block you. SOFA Statistics, another open source that gives data visualization. Okay, I'm going to have to remember that. Um, yeah, Jojo does look like a troll. We got our first troll. Congratulations, Jojo. If you are a troll, you serving a purpose. You're my first troll. Good to be the first person I ban. Up, there it goes. There goes the troll talk. All right, Jojo, you continue. I'll let you have your little fun before I block you. But I'm not going to acknowledge you anymore. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, so even if we do turn around on them, which there are several initiatives to basically monitor government in real time and give that data to the people, they're not going to stop doing it to us. Now that brings back to my original point. There's a war on encryption. Um, look at when the San Bernardino situation happened. The shooting happened in San Bernardino, and they couldn't get into the assailant's iPhone because it was encrypted. They ended up, basically paying a hacker to uh, break into it because Apple wouldn't budge. And I'm actually really proud of Apple as much as I dislike Apple. I was really proud of them for holding their ground on that. Because basically the FBI was coming to Apple and was like, "Hey, you need to give us a back door," and they were like, "We're not going to do that," um, because that basically opens the gate to for you guys to just have a back door into our system. So essentially, what they did, because they couldn't hack it themselves, they had to hire a hacker to get into it. Which that was really the catalyst for them to have the war on encryption, because they were hiding it behind, oh, there was a terrorist attack, there was a mass shooting, and trying to use that rally around the flag technique to to do that. And encryption is really our last saving hope for freedom of speech, freedom of privacy. Uh, yeah, really those two: freedom of speech and freedom of privacy. So there's basically there's multiple kinds of encryption, but there's two main kinds. So you have centralized encryption. So basically it's encrypted on the server, and then you have end-to-end encryption, where it's encrypted on the device. So, for example, if you go to Facebook, you can open up an encrypted chat, and in the encrypted chat, only the devices that you are chatting on. So, I'm on my phone right now. If I were to send you a message, and it was on a secure Facebook chat, then only my phone, and if you're on your phone will be able to see the messages. If you logged onto your account on a desktop at the library, you wouldn't be able to see those messages because it's encrypted end to end on the device. Whereas if it's encrypted on the server, it's centrally encrypted, then you can log in on any device and still see that data. When you put encryption on your phone, if you have Android, and I'm pretty sure iOS can do it too. You can set a password for when it like boots up and encrypts the data. Not the same as your password when you're logging in on your home screen, but it's another password before that to decrypt your data. And if you do that and you don't have it's a one way, it's what's called one way encryption. So the only way to unencrypt it or decrypt it is basically a brute force attack it. So you either know the password or you have to brute force guess the password, which is how cryptocurrency works actually. So obviously the government doesn't like that. I mean, yes, you do have the caveat where you have like the San Bernardino shooter and stuff, but the vast majority of the time, is not there isn't a crime going on. It's they want to do some form of counterintelligence. Just is literally because I say so type of thing. So they don't like the fact that people have figured out that they can browse the internet anonymously using an encrypted network like Tor. They don't like the fact that they can encrypt their data on their phone and it can't be used against them in a court of law because you cannot compel someone to unlock their phone. You cannot compel someone to do something that would be self-incriminating because we do have a due process. Do you think trends are the biggest influence for real-time big data analytics? Do I think trends are the biggest influence? I never really thought of it like that. Hmm. Thinking about it as you say it, I definitely think that trends do play a huge role, which brings up the question of who starts the trends. Are these trends social experiments? I believe some of them are. Um, but yeah, trends definitely influence um, big data analytics. And based off trends, actually, because I mean, when I use like Twitter analytics, I look at trends. If I need to come up with a subject matter that's going to reach a wider audience, I'll look at trends and see what's going on. So I would say so, actually. I would say so. Huh. Give me something to think about. So here's something that I was interested in. So Snapchat, right? I'm not a big Snapchat user. I'm starting to use it more for marketing purposes, but I I don't really like Snapchat. One, it's just a crappy social network. Um, they had great momentum when they started out, but they made like all the wrong business decisions after the fact and didn't do what was necessary to stay relevant. But the reason why I'm bringing up Snapchat is because um it was this big thing that your messages disappear and it was supposed to be like really secure. Yet um, I've read time and time again of police or authorities getting Snapchat messages off people's phones and using that uh, against them in the court of law. and of course, we all know the same thing goes for Facebook and Twitter and social network. I mean, and then Snapchat added that weird map update, which I thought was really weird. I resisted Twitter, Instagram for many years up until as recent as last summer, and I still sparingly use it. Yeah, I like I said, I use it most like 90% for marketing purposes, just because it's necessary. If you want to reach a bigger audience, it's just necessary. But I know I've written analytics apps before. I understand how that data is being um encapsulated and marketed. So I'm just worried. That's why I like to write my own apps. But this data is being collected on you. It's being used against you in ways that you can't even think. Um, for example, people are talking about putting like the RFID chips in your hand. Um, so like places like out in Silicon Valley, you can like unlock the door just like doing this with your hand. I wrote apps for Facebook. I haven't got Twitter yet. That's funny because I wrote a whole bunch for Twitter and not as many for Facebook. I like Twitter's API much better than Facebook's um, SDKs. But so yeah, so they want to put these like chips in your hand so you can unlock the door and do a bunch of other stuff. But one of the things they were talking about was like how embedded technology or just big data in particular can be used against you in the healthcare industry. So you sign up for insurance. I mostly use YouTube and only engage people such as yourself. Respect, respect. I mean, there's no problem with being secluded on your internet usage. I mean, there's really no problem with not being if you're fully aware of what's going on and you're okay with that, then go forward and do whatever it is on the internet. My thing is I just don't like being misinformed. How safe is Tor? Tor is really safe. This is why I trust open source projects. Programmers, the for the vast majority, programmers are very democratic. Um, the a lot of software, I would say most software that's like beneficial to society was created by people who didn't go in there for monetary purposes. They wanted uh, they were futurists. They want to live in a society where stuff is more egalitarian. Tor is really safe. It's managed by thousands of programmers around the world. You can't outsource that kind of talent. That's why I love open source projects. My son's has an app where he can see where everybody that's his friends. He knows exactly where they are and traveling. Yeah, I wrote an app called Socket Droid that does the same thing. I can open up the app, and then if I put the app on your phone and it could run in the background, you don't even know it's running. I could see you um, in real time on the map. I can see what direction you're heading. I can see how fast you're going. It updates in real time. I can tell your altitude, all that stuff. I mean, and this is stuff individual programmers can do. So what is the government really doing? What are they really doing? It's crazy to think about. But so back to what I was saying. So healthcare officials, right? So you're buying health insurance and they're looking, and because they have all this data on you that they've bought from these companies, like they bought it from Fitbit and Twitter and whatnot, and they have this whole profile on you. They're like, well, we see you eat a lot of pizza. Yeah, that makes you a higher risk for heart disease. And we got this information because we actually contacted and bought the data from Pizza Hut themselves, because they sell, they're all almost all restaurants sell your data to people. So they got the data from Pizza Hut, seeing that um I'm licensed life health in all states. Yeah, I work for GE Healthcare. And they put me on the game of this when I was a engineer at GE Healthcare. I was just like, good God. I mean, little like stuff that you don't even think about. You buy gum. You're a big gum chewer. All right. Well, your dental insurance is going to be higher. Just like, and it really gets into some deep ethical questions, like, why? how easy should it be for you to have this access? Should it be as easy as you just spending a few $100s and getting an Excel file on me? Do I not have a say in this? And if I do have a say, what's the extent of my say? Once you buy my data, are you bound to not resell that data? What's going to happen when you're applying for a mortgage and they got all this data? It's no longer just about your credit score. Oh, you got a 700 credit score, but we can't give you this mortgage because we see that you like to throw parties based off your Facebook, and we just don't think that you'd be a fit for this neighborhood. So we're not going to give you a loan for this mortgage to buy this house in this neighborhood. That's what he has. Yeah, I mean, Nicole, it's a I love programming, especially in this day and age, because there's so many tools out there. You can write amazing apps really quick, but it's really scary to think about because, like I said earlier, as one developer, as a solo developer, you can do so much. So what? And and, and you're with limited resources. So what is the government doing? I think the U.S. government used RFID chip and U.S. passport for predictive analytics ever since 9/11. You're right. I'm pretty sure they've admitted that. I mean, because they said they put it on there for data collection. Um, I mean, honestly, if you're going to put that technology into a passport and you're not doing some sort of predictive analytics, you're kind of dumb. You're wasting your resources. So when I see these innovations, I can't help but think, yeah, they're going to use it for this, this, and this because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they when they have the capability? And who does the government answer to? We answer to the government. Who do they answer to? They don't answer to us. So why wouldn't they do it? Especially if you're in the intelligence community, and the only person who you answer to is the president, and the president is the person who told you to do it. It it makes my head hurt when I see the amount of people who just assume that the government is doing what they're supposed to do. Um, Edward Snowden said that when he saw what Bush was doing, and that Obama was elected, he thought that the surveillance program would shrink, and then under Obama, it actually exponentially exploded. And now we're seeing with Trump that what his plans are, it's going to get even bigger. It's going to get even bigger, and I have a very strong feeling by the end of his tenure, it's going to be commonplace, and sadly, I think it's going to be accepted that domestic surveillance, the in mass domestic surveillance is going to be okay. I think we are literally watching our Fourth Amendment rights uh, dissipate and evaporate. So, you guys have any questions? What's going on? What is the stuff that I'm saying making sense? Do you think I'm being far fetched? What is your opinion on Python as far as security and programming? Python is used a lot um, for security apps. Honestly, I think C++ is still king if you're going to do anything with like security and low level stuff. Um, but Python's good. R is used a lot. Isn't the Constitution suspended anyway though? Uh, what do you mean? Misread. What do you mean? And Mad Genius, you're right. R is used a lot, especially in analytics. That's actually like the main language it's used for is statistical analysis. It always is, as most people are just not willing to ask real questions. They rather spend more time gossiping, etc. Yeah, sheep. And I mean, it, there's a reason. there is a reason why only 3% of the population are programmers. Now and then in my free time. Yeah, I used R a lot in college. Um, Outside of that, I work with a lot of data scientists that use R, but it just really wasn't my cup of tea for real, for real. Um, but yeah, most people would rather spend time gossiping, and it's sad. Um, but yeah, I heard that it's suspended, so it's not a violation. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I know in in practicality it kind of is, but I don't know about anything legally and officially. I haven't heard anything about that. They're using everything: technology, hurricanes, lasers, chemtrails, computers, phones, robots. It's pretty sad. Yeah, I mean, like I said a couple streams ago, they got smart dirt now. They got nano robots and they put thousands of them together and they look like dirt specks. It looks like dust. And these things have 4K cameras and audio recorders on them. You're sitting there on your porch, telling on yourself, don't even know. We're essentially in a cyber prison if you can picture it. Chemtrails just condensed water vapors. Oh man, chemtrails. We could talk about that all day. I'm glad I tuned in. I appreciate the knowledge and teachings. Thanks, JP. No problem. I'm glad that you guys tuned in. That's what I'm glad about. You know, I started my YouTube channel back in like '06 when I was like in high school, and then I really got serious about it like a couple years ago. And I'm just glad that people are starting to tune in consistently. I asked a question regarding Python because I'm currently studying to be a Linux admin, system admin. Oh, then yeah, you definitely want to learn Python. Python is included in most Linux distributions. A lot of Linux distributions are written in Python, so you would definitely not go wrong learning Python. Um, After I learned Python, I would learn C++ too. I know that I could be talking about something with a friend, and then I will get an ad for that very thing next time I open an app. And that is because Facebook, Google, and Twitter implement an algorithm known as ambient listening. It's the same thing with Android or Siri. We can say, okay, Google or Siri or whatever, or Alexa. It's listening in the background for keywords. Um, well, with ambient listening, it's just listening continuously, and then it's sending those words to a server, and it's extrapolating what the context of that conversation is. Once it gets the context of that conversation, it finds a relevant ad for that conversation, and it injects it. All this is done in real time. So what you are describing is ambient listening. You are not crazy. It is an actual thing. I'm actually thinking about writing a tutorial on implementing ambient listening in JavaScript. So just so you can see how easy it is to do that. Let's see. But yeah, Nicole, they literally are using everything against us. We're basically in a cyber prison. You know, you have free speech except when you don't. Um, all your content is essentially uh the companies that you put it on. I can't remember the name of the political structure where corporations essentially rule, but that's essentially where we're at. Corporations essentially rule. The big five, FANG, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, they run the internet. They literally run it. If a business isn't used to handling data at such a rapid rate, it could lead to incorrect analysis, which could cause larger problems for the organization. Mad Genius, you're absolutely right. And that's what is paralysis by analysis. Um, and that's part of the reason why we're in this bottleneck that we're in the tech sector is because we have a lot of problems that require senior level um, engineers, and we don't have those people because just it takes years of practice. We're talking high order mathematics, very complicated mathematics, and the average person, the average programmer, doesn't even know that stuff. What we're talking about is like stuff like being a quant. Like if you're writing real time trading algorithms, you can't just get a programmer and teach that person. You probably gonna have to find a physicist or a mathematics major who knows programming, and they can do that kind of work. So, but the good thing is that most businesses they don't overnight get that rapid data influx. So if they're having good business practices, then they're able to catch that they're going to need to outsource or hire the talent necessary to handle that influx. Let's see. Hotness Kip. What is the difference between Java, Linux, Python, Laravel? All right. Good question. Wide general question. So you named two languages, a framework, and an operating system. So Java and Python are programming languages. Laravel is a programming framework. Um, it is a programming framework based off the PHP programming language. So a framework is when you take a language and you write basically writing a program that can be used to write other programs in a uh, similar simpler form. Laravel was created by Taylor Otwell. If you guys go to my Instagram, actually, me and Taylor, when Taylor came to Laracon in Louisville, which is actually my hometown, me and him took pictures and stuff together. Me and him talk pretty often. We email at least like once a month, and we talk a lot on Twitter. He's a cool dude, real cool dude. And then lastly, Linux. Linux is the operating system. So just like how you have Windows and Mac, you also have the Linux operating system. Android and Apple are based off Linux. Um, so Java, Python are programming languages. Laravel is a programming framework, and Linux is the operating system in which you can use any of those languages or frameworks to code on. So-called Anubis Kane, so-called free speech is not a one-size-fit-all either. You're absolutely right about that. Does C++ require math mastery? No, it doesn't. It doesn't require math mastery, but the more complicated you get with your programming, the it is a possibility that you might have to do more mathematics. The last company I worked for had framework inside of frameworks inside of another framework. I've worked with so many companies like that. They want to write their own in-house piece of crap bullshit and claim that it's the best and it's horrible with no documentation. Did you say you went to U of L, like University of Louisville? I went to UK. Um, huh? Are you from Louisville, Mad Genius? Yeah, man. I went to male high school, and I almost went to speed school, but ended up going to U of L instead because I wanted to get away from Louisville. But yeah, that's cool. Oh, okay. I didn't know you was from Louisville. Cool. Well, now I do. Well, next time I'm in town, we're gonna have to link up. Uh, later. But yeah, C++ doesn't require math mastery, but You gotta understand this. Computer science is like part mathematics and part philosophy. When you study like theory of computations, and when you're doing like really complicated algorithms, there's a lot of philosophy. Uh, the state of Louisville. Uh, there's a lot of philosophy behind that, King Tao. So I think you'll do more philosophical work when you're doing C++ than you'll necessarily do with mathematics, because a lot of the hard mathematical stuff, libraries and stuff have already been written for it. So you don't have to worry about implementing uh, these hard mathematical algorithms. But you do have to understand the philosophy of how they work. So if you're not good with logic, then you need to, I would focus on logic before I focus on math. Oh man, good conversation. Appreciate you guys. Just got this, came and keep up with the comments. Have you ever used root? Like like running stuff as root, or the programming language root? So doing simple script in C++ would not require much math. No, it would not require much math. No. And any math that is required, there probably is already a library, or there's a tutorial showing you exactly what you have to do, and you can just modify it accordingly. I've never used root, the programming language. I've heard good things about it. Have you used it? Oh man, it is cold out here. Let me tell you, I'm sitting right here next to the window. Where to learn? I use it for data analysis and physics. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard it's really good for that. Where to learn programming slash coding? Hotness Kip. So I'll give you some of the stuff that I learned. I I specialize in web and mobile apps. So I use W3 Schools. Now, mind you, when I started learning, I was 8, and a lot of the stuff that I use then I still use now, and it may or may not be the best for what's available now as versus what it was available when I was first learning. So w3schools.com. You can never go wrong going to your local library and checking out the computer science section and checking out those books. A lot of them come with CDs or online tutorials and stuff that you can do. There's YouTube, there's Khan Academy, there's EDX, um, Free Code Camp. Uh, Wait, Randall Cobb is your cousin, Nicole? You talking about Randall Cobb? That's your cousin. That's cool. Devontae Parker is my cousin. Play for U of L. Plays for the Dolphins now. But also Hotness Kip. I teach coding as well. I've taken a break from doing my introduction to coding tutorials because I'm working on a series of ebooks. But if you go over to my website, I do full tutorials, like full app tutorials. So if you learn the basics of coding, you can go through my tutorials. When my ebooks, I'm saying ebook, but it's actually going to be a web series because you're going to be able to interact with it. When that comes out in the spring, that's going to be for people who have never touched coding before. Um, if uh, the code camp, some of them are good. It just depends on the price range and who the instructors are. I would tell you don't pay for a code class. It's because there's too many free and or inexpensive resources out here. But YouTube, honestly, learn JavaScript. Learn JavaScript first because that's the language of the web. And also with JavaScript, you can program on the back end as well. My website should be in the description, but if it's not, it is JeroneParker.com. That is JYRONEPARKER.com. I don't think I can message while I'm on the phone. No, I can't. I don't see where I can send a message. Yeah. Where from? Alcoa, Tennessee. Nice. Peace and love, brother. Yeah. Yeah. JeroneParker.com. JYRONEPARKER.com. You can check it out there. Also, for those who are listening, I have congrats on your first troll. It means you're moving up in the YouTube space. I know, right? Got my first troll. Oh man, that's how you know you popping. You couldn't even spell nigger right. It's crazy. Said Niger. Oh man, it's crazy. But anyway, while you're there, if you go over to my website, I currently have my t-shirts on sale. Code Life t-shirts. They're on sale for $9.99 until January 1st. If you buy one, then you get 50% off of my e-series, which I was just speaking about a few minutes ago. Also, I got some other cool gadgets on there. I have the Koji programmable robot. It was a perfect Christmas gift for any child. It's a programmable robot. It comes built in with Bluetooth, and it has an iPhone, Android app. You could teach your kids how to program using emojis. So you program it on the phone, you send it over to the robot, and it performs the actions. I got my son coding, my daughter starting to learn, and truth be told, I've already hacked it, connected to my Raspberry Pi, so I can do some cooler things with it. All around, it's a great toy. I really recommend it. Also, we got Raspberry Pis on there for those if you want to get into the IoT space. You want to learn how to code, and you just want to have a little dedicated computer you could take with you. Raspberry Pis can never go wrong with those. I also have some books on there, computer science books and different entrepreneur books to help out that stuff that I considered required reading. There's a big misconception that programmers don't like read, or you don't use books because they go out of date. But the philosophy of software engineering more or less stays the same. And sometimes there's something about just having a book on your bookshelf you can just pull out that I don't know how to explain it. I use books all the time in addition to the internet. But guys, if you don't have anything else, um, then I'm going to call it a night. Got some apps I got to work on. But I'll give this last. We're at a minute 13, so I'll give this last 2 minutes to you guys. If you're not following me already, follow me on Twitter at MasterShake08. It's also my Instagram, it's also my Snapchat, and any other social media that uses a username. Thank you, Mad Genius. Mad Genius says that I had a good stream. I appreciate it. I thoroughly appreciate it. Are you in social? Or am I in SoCal? SoCal. My brother's in SoCal. I just moved back from the Bay Area. Um, I'm back in Kentucky now. My brother is down in SoCal though. Looking for vids on the website. Um, if you head over to my blog, I have they're embedded in each blog article. And they're basically the same videos that are on my YouTube page. So you can just head over to the YouTube page as well. Um, yeah, man, I need to make it down to SoCal, just not when it's burning the hell up. My brother just moved to a new spot. He does streaming as well. He's a gamer on Twitch, and he makes crazy amounts of money. Crazy amounts. I was watching him on stream, and he got donated $10,000 in one stream. It's crazy. But Then again, people give football players and basketball players tons of money to watch them play with a ball. So I guess it makes sense people want to watch somebody play video games. But yeah, East Coast has seasons while SoCal's droughts, wildfires, earthquakes, and mudslides. Dude, when we moved out to Hayward, California, out out by San Francisco. We was out there for a couple years, dog. We was driving on the 880 and just watching the freaking dry branches catch on fire because like there was like a mirror angling the sunlight and it was all dry and hot over there. It's crazy. You said they said SoCal smells like barbecue right now. My wife says hi to everybody. It's crazy. Thank you. I'm inspired. Good, good. That's what I like hearing. I love hearing that I inspire people. I love it. If you got kids, you got little nieces, nephews, get them to watch the stream, learn how to code. Streamers say hi. Found out one of my streamers lives in Louisville, by the way. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to go visit him. All right, guys, I'm gonna get off here. Like I said, if you haven't followed me already, follow me. If you head over to my website, it'll ask you if you want to receive push notifications. Please go ahead and do that because I give a lot of stuff through my website, including besides my tutorials and stuff, I give updates through my push notifications on the website. So head over to DroneParker.com and sign in for those notifications. And I will talk to you guys later.